Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. I hope everyone's having a happy Hanukkah. I hope everyone enjoyed their Christmas. And I hope everyone's having a fine holiday season. I've missed you. I haven't done a show since Monday. So, I don't think you could call it sleeping in when Lil Toots and here's the Lil Toots is great. Everything's great. All right. So, as you guys know, I'm a practicing Italian American, and I do the 7 fish every year with my family. And last year, in the first Christmas in the new house, we hosted. I was very much looking forward to hosting. I was even planning on making a scallop arancini. That's the risotto ball or the rice ball for the Medigans, right? And I practiced it. I did a first round a week before Christmas Eve. It turned out lovely, and I was really excited to make it as part of the 7 fish meal. And my son woke up with a 103-degree fever. So we've been dealing with that. He's great now. He's through it. So we had to cancel everything. So my brother ended up hosting for my mom, my dad, his in-laws who are usually here. So no 7 fish for me this year, which was heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. But still got to enjoy it with my immediate family, my wife, my 2 kids. They had Little Toots was riding around in one of the little cars we bought her for Christmas, right? We got one for her and her brother so they could like buzz around the house and all that stuff and even outside, you know. And that she was having a blast with that and all her toys. And then at the end of the thing, she's like, I want more toys. And it's like, just say thank you. Just no wins. There's no wins there. Except for right before you put her to bed. And she's like, this is the best Christmas ever. I'm like, where was that energy 2 hours ago? Anyway, hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season. I'll be back with you guys on Monday to hopefully talk about the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Dallas Cowboys. We got that to get into today. We got the Dallas Cowboys coming up lame in one particular instance. And no, it does not look like, unfortunately, it does not look like Jalen Hurts is going to be playing in this game. And Nick Sirianni, when he talked about it yesterday, couldn't have been more vague. He wouldn't even say whether or not Jalen Hurts was in the building. I'll let you hear both the answer that he gave when Ian Book's signing when he was asked about Ian Book re-signing with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then I'll also let you hear the question and answer. It was from Ruben Frank of NBC Sports Philly when he asked, "So what can you tell us about the status of Jalen Hurts? Anything?" And it's just like Jalen Carter. Oh, Jalen Hurts. Never heard of him. That was the energy he gave the answer with. Kenny Pickett, everything's fine. Everything's fine with Kenny Pickett. Ribs are great. He feels good. He's going to be ready to go come Sunday. I don't know if he understood the question or not. Elliott Shore Parks asked whether or not, hey, so are you playing Sunday? And he's like, yeah. I don't know if he thought he heard, because no one's just going to come out and say that. And I don't know if he thought the question was, are you feeling good if you play on Sunday? But the question was, are you playing on Sunday? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, well, okay. I don't think he means that, but it's probably what's happening anyway. Saquon Barkley talked about how Kenny Pickett affects the offense. Let me just get this out of the way. Here's how I'm feeling on the whole Kenny Pickett thing. Not great, but I also don't feel like it's an automatic loss. And I know that the Dallas Cowboys have been playing a lot better football. We'll go over that in a second here. We're talking about a team that's won 4 out of the last 5 games. We're talking about a team that's been able to put up points rather well. But they're going to be missing for the remainder of the season, the 2 remaining games, including this one here come Sunday at 1 o'clock against the Eagles. They're going to be missing CD Lamb, who essentially is their offense. Him and Ricky Dowdle, the running back, or Rico Dowdle is the running back who has been fantastic over the last stretch of games. He's coming up on 1,000 yards on the season. He's got 900 so far, a little over 900. But he's been a huge part of their offense. As you'd assume, CeeDee Lamb's been a big part of their offense. Jake Ferguson, their tight end's been a big part. But the main guy, is CeeDee Lamb. The guy Cooper Rush is dropping back and looking for more so than anybody by a huge majority is obviously CeeDee Lamb. His safety blanket is Rico Dowdle. So we'll talk about all that as the show goes on today. But I still feel good that it's an Eagles win, but I don't feel great. And the obvious reason for that is Kenny Pickett. Watching the film, Kenny Pickett was not very good. Watching the game, where it gives you a pretty decent idea The film certainly tells all, and tape doesn't lie, as they always say. There's a lot of missed guys. There's a lot of zeroing in and staring down receivers. But the thing I keep telling myself, which is what gives me confidence that Kenny Pickett will play good enough to win on Sunday, is that he didn't play scared. Of all the things, he never looked scared on the field. Did he miss some throws? He absolutely did. Did he zero in on targets? Yes, he absolutely did. But he came in ice cold off the bench, thrown into the game, 11 plays into it, and he hits A.J. Brown, bang, just like that. Just perfect rhythm between the numbers, made the throw. Then he later throws a touchdown pass to A.J. Brown. Like, there was no missing a beat when he came into the game. He was ready for the moment. Then coming out of halftime, he starts bombing the football down the field. He gets 2 pass interference calls drawn by A.J. Brown, both on Marshawn Lattimore. He did not play scared. He did play confident. And then the ultimate push come to shove, there was the interception where they did a phenomenal job baiting him into that interception. Something they used to do to Jalen Hurts, something they actually did in the Jets game last year against Jalen Hurts was kind of fool him with the position of the linebacker. But the thing that was so interesting about Kenny Pickett in this game, and the biggest saving grace point you could make, is that if Devontae Smith catches the football, Devontae Smith catches that football, the Eagles win a game where for 4 quarters, a little bit shy of a complete game, but in 4 quarters, Kenny Pickett played good enough to win. That is the ultimate takeaway from last week's loss, unfortunately, as far as Kenny Pickett is concerned, against the Washington Commanders. I don't think Devontae Smith is going to drop a ball like that again. I think A.J. Brown, even though he showed up with a knee injury on the injury report, I don't think he's going to be missing this game. But even with him out there, or especially with him out there, but even with him out there, maybe not 100%, maybe 85 or 90%, this is still one hell of a potent offense. And ultimately, Kenny Pickett just has to be that quote-unquote point guard that we hear so much about. That's how he has to play the quarterback position. And when you have Devontae Smith and you have A.J. Brown and you have Saquon Barkley and you're playing behind this offensive line, that shouldn't be the most difficult thing in the world for a quarterback that has been a starter in the NFL for 2 seasons already. This should be just play smart and the Eagles win the football game. On the defensive side of things, again, you get a huge break there with CeeDee Lamb being shut down for the season. But they still have a tall order for the way Cooper Rush has been playing as of late. We will talk about the opponents that the Cowboys have had. Not exactly the most threatening. But there's a lot to get into when we talk about this Dallas Cowboy game. Let's start it off with some drama. If you remember, I think this was a week ago. 2 weeks ago, actually. Micah Parsons was at his locker, and he was asked about his vibes towards the Dallas Cowboys.
Nah, at this point, it's fuck Philly now. You know, even if we got eliminated, like, I got to crush Philly, like, fuck them. Like, I hate them now because I be seeing them just talking so much on socials now. Like, I don't know, my Twitter page got consumed by Philly. Philly fan. Yeah, like, like they say don't look forward to some things, but I'm excited about the matchup too.
All right, so I thought that was the edited version. Excuse me. That's Micah Parsons 2 weeks ago. Here's Micah Parsons yesterday at his locker.
I mean, I think it's the same as always. You know, they always scream at F Dallas, and that's the build-up. That's the fun part. Energetic fans. And it's about just playing good football. The fans play. It's going to be a great environment. So it's like, who's not excited to go play in that, you know?
He was later asked about whether or not he had family in the stands that are ever worried about Eagles fans, and it's like he's from PA guy, Penn State guy, obviously. He's like, no, that's never been a problem. He's like, I always tell my mom to stay out of it, and my mom does a good job of staying out of it. Good job, Mom. Way to be. As far as this Eagles squad goes, and Micah Parsons. We know that there's the relationship there with Saquon Barkley. Something that actually queued up that first answer from Micah Parsons was how Saquon Barkley looks at him like a big brother and that type of thing. That's all nice. But when it comes to Micah Parsons and his threat on the football field, this is a guy who's only played in 11 games so far this season. In those 11 games, he's got 9 tackles for loss. He's got 9.5 sacks. He's forced a couple fumbles on the season, and he is still a threat. And when you talk about stopping a run game, and you talk about a guy being in the backfield, Micah Parsons is the number one guy right there. Eric Kendricks is another guy you're going to be looking at as well. But as far as Micah Parsons goes, he's the straw that stirs the drink, as they say. Again, though, behind this offensive line, with how well the Eagles have been playing as an offensive line this season, with Jordan Mailata being the highest-rated pass and run blocker on an offensive line this season to this point, thanks to Pro Football Focus with that acknowledgement, and you still got Lane Johnson on the other side of that, you have Cam Jurgens getting off the line of scrimmage. I told you going into the season, I had no doubt that Cam Jurgens would be able to get off the line of scrimmage and get upfield and physically be what Jason Kelce was. No doubt. My concern was between the ears, how well is he going to process this information? How much on the same page is he going to be with Jalen Hurts? What will that look like? That learning curve, if you will. Phenomenal. It's all been great with Cam Jurgens. But this offensive line as a whole has been great. So you talk about confidence and being able to take a guy like Micah Parsons out of the game. Oh, I got a lot of confidence that they can do that. And the Lane Johnson and Micah Parsons battle is in heavy, heavy favor of Lane Johnson over the years. So I got all the respect in the world for him. If there's anything that I really try to track outside of the X's and O's, if you will, it's all about how this Philadelphia Eagles team takes on that Dallas Cowboy defense. But when it comes to outside that realm of X's and O's, for me, it comes down to pulling focus. A couple of things go into this game. One, it's Dallas week. Every newly minted Eagle is quickly baptized in the fire of how much Philadelphia hates the Dallas Cowboys. So you shouldn't have to ever need a little extra motivation. But Micah Parsons talking about how, F Philly this, F Philly that. Okay, you've got my attention. And if you don't think that matters, Dallas played with a bit of a chip on their shoulder when Nick Sirianni wore that Beat Dallas t-shirt at practice. Not exactly the best thing to do there. And Dallas ended up beating the brakes off the Eagles in that game. But this should be a game where that's a little extra added motivation. The other little piece of extra added motivation is, don't you just want to lock up the division? You've locked up a playoff berth. Don't you just want to lock that up? Right? Get that off the table. I think most people would want to lock that up right now. As far as Micah Parsons taking on Saquon Barkley, and another thing about watching the film, all the Washington Commanders did, especially in the second half of the game, really starting in the second quarter, was they stacked the box consistently. And the entire time I'm watching Kenny Pickett, I don't know how many play action throws he made. It felt like maybe 2 at most. Everything was telegraphed. And even in doing that, he was still able to make a few plays. But this Dallas Cowboy, like Deron Bland, for instance, is a guy who doesn't even have an interception yet this season. He's only played 5 games. This will be his 6th. But he has been dealing with injury all season long. He's hungry for that first interception. He wants to reel that in. And Kenny Pickett, if he's telegraphing against this Dallas Cowboy defense, it's not going to be too friendly, unfortunately. But as I'm watching this Philadelphia Eagles team go out there on Sunday, the number one thing I want to see is just Kenny Pickett remain comfortable in the pocket. It's Kenny Pickett not having to worry about where Micah Parsons is as far as getting into that backfield. It's them establishing the run with Saquon Barkley and then using that to establish the play action. Because I did not see at any point Kellen Moore or Nick Sirianni or anybody installing the offense, game plan, calling plays, whatever, help out Kenny Pickett with a little play action. You got 8 men in the box, little play action, little slant to A.J. Brown. Now, he made throws to A.J. Brown. Obviously, he only threw to, 3 guys. But I did not see any play action to help out Kenny Pickett. Another thing I need to see from this Philadelphia Eagles offense with Kenny Pickett there is, and Kellen Moore talked about this during his press conference early in the week, same game plan? Like, I understand after a football game, you saying that, like, no, nothing changes. It's all, whatever. We have an emergency package, for Kenny Pickett if he's going to go in. But it all stays the same. Really? Because that seems dumb. That seems really dumb. Your offense with a quarterback of Jalen Hurts' skill set is far different than the skill set of Kenny Pickett. Saquon tried. God bless him, he tried. Yesterday, Saquon Barkley was in his locker, and he was asked about how the offense changes with Jalen Hurts to Kenny Pickett, and he tried to sell me a little bit there on Kenny Pickett being a runner. Here's what Saquon had to say about the offense changing.
I don't want to discredit anything from Jalen because Jalen he's a threat. You know what I mean? He that's what makes him special. The way he's able to throw the ball, but also the way he's able to run the ball. There's not many guys that's able to run the ball like him. So it definitely changes things. But Kenny got a little run into him. I remember in college he hit like a little fake slide. So we see flashes of it. He has a little bit, right? And if he needs to do it, we know he's more than capable of doing it. But wherever the play is, we just got to go out there and execute, and we'll be all right.
Is that all it takes? Is just keeping the defense honest?
Yeah, I mean that definitely helps. But not every team has that threat. Have a guy like Jalen or have a guy like Lamar. And there's still ways you're able to run a ball like that too. So we have a great game plan that we feel like we installed and the coaches installed, and now we just got to go out there and execute it and be ready for whatever Dallas throws at us.
Okay. Great game plan. Again, I want to see play action. I want to see them be heavy on the run. The Dallas Cowboys, if you remember, actually played against the Eagles and Saquon Barkley well in their first matchup earlier in the season down in Dallas. They held him to around 65 yards in that game. The Eagles are, of course, going to have to be even more reliant on the run game in this one, and they're going to have to do it with Kenny Pickett as the quarterback. So they might even start out with play action. I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Eagles in their first 5-10 plays, if they get a drive going here and they get let's say they get the first possession of the game, what they want to do with it. I wouldn't be shocked if you see Kenny Pickett pull that ball and go and try to run. I'm not predicting how far he'll run for, but just to keep the defense guessing a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. 2 things. The most obvious is just a run to Saquon Barkley first play of the game. Second is a play action pass. Third is Kenny Pickett pulls that ball and runs with it. Again, I'm not saying he takes off for 20 yards. I'm not saying he goes into one of those fake slides, which as far as I'm concerned, he should have been flagged for. That should be against the rules of the NFL. We're trying to protect all these quarterbacks. And the guy's fake sliding. Don't like it. Defense is already at a huge disadvantage in that whole play. Unlike the Jalen Hurts hit, unfortunately. But as far as this play, as far as this game plan goes, run it with Saquon, play action, run it with Kenny. I see a variation of those 3 things happening in the first possession. I don't think that's wild. I think the most obvious, again, is Saquon just running with the football. The other is Kenny Pickett, play action, pass, slant to A.J. Brown. And then the third would be in the first 5 plays, seeing Kenny Pickett actually pull that ball out and try to run with it. All in all, you're still just going to be depending on Saquon Barkley. That's going to be the main thing. You're talking about the main thing being the main thing. Well, obviously the main thing is winning, but right after that main thing is just give the ball to Saquon. Let him be Superman. Let him rack up 200 yards in this game for all I care. You're talking about a game where he's probably going to get about 30 touches. This is going to be a game. This is certainly going to be a game where Saquon's going to be the star of the show. And I think he's going to need to be the star of the show for the Eagles to win this game. Because, again, the Cowboys are playing much better football. As far as Nick Sirianni, this is how vague he was on both the Ian Book signing and Jalen Hurts' status.
Jalen's status.
Yeah, again, opportunity to add Ian here this week and, took that advantage of that opportunity.
Nick, is there anything you can tell us about how Jalen's feeling, how he's doing? Is he in the building?
He's in the concussion protocol, so not a lot I can comment on that. we'll get you an update after today.
Yep. He ain't playing. I would be shocked if Jalen Hurts ran out there in the football field and was playing. And today will obviously be the telling day, but I would just be flat out shocked. The Eagles aren't just going out there and signing Ian Book if they already know that Kenny Pickett is feeling great with his ribs. They're not doing that if they have confidence, which they do. I believe them when they say they have confidence in Tanner McKee. Hell, I feel like Tanner McKee is a guy that has an amazing amount of confidence for as far as confidence in him from a city and a fan base for a guy that we've really only seen in the preseason. We've seen Kenny Pickett play at the NFL level. We've seen him be a first-round pick. Tanner McKee, we've seen play in the preseason. Now, I will say this. I am not chomping at the bit to see Tanner McKee play, but one thing that I did see from him playing in the preseason, or one thing I did draw from him playing in the preseason was, if he's got to go in a game, I ain't scared. I'm not dreading the idea of him coming in a game. I'm not dreading, and I'm not cheering or rooting for injury by any means. But I'm certainly not dreading if something happens to Kenny Pickett or if his ribs are a bigger problem than we're being led to believe at this point. If he plays a couple series and takes a bad hit to the ribs, for instance, and all of a sudden you see Tanner McKee trotting onto the field, I ain't looking at it going, oh, God, here we go. This is a loss now. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's earned this. I'm curious to see how he plays. And I do have confidence that he will play well. I have confidence that he can do what Kenny Pickett at least did, which was put his team in a position to win a football game. And keep his team in a position to win a football game. And the thing I got to keep going back to is if Devontae Smith catches that ball, we are not – if Saquon Barkley catches that football, we're talking about a much different outcome. Well, we're talking about a win. We're not talking about a loss. So, yeah, the opposite. Talking about an opposite outcome is what we're getting into. So everything that I've heard so far this week, it does not look like Jalen Hurts is going to be playing in this football game. As far as your boy Kenny Pickett, here he was in his locker yesterday when he was asked about his ribs.
How did they test out Monday?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail on what it is, but they're getting better, and I'll be ready to go for Sunday.
You had a flak jacket on today. Have you ever played with one of those before?
Yeah, I always have. There's just extra thing I'm doing underneath it just to kind of feel it out.
Sorry, so you said you will play on Sunday?
Yeah.
What's this week like? I'm sure getting a lot more reps, getting more prepared for game action.
Yeah, it's great to get reps with guys I really haven't a chance to play with. So getting the continuity, getting in and out of the huddle, and obviously throwing to the receivers, is big for me.
That's how you talking to AJ. That's how you talk.
Yeah. You heard it in the middle there. Elliott Shore Parks asked the question about, so you're playing Sunday? Yeah. I don't think he's confirming that. There's got to be a miscommunication there. There's got to be a miscommunication. And the fact that that's not blasted out all over the internet makes me feel like everybody there in that pool of reporters felt the same exact way. Just play point guard. Don't turn the football over. When in doubt, hand it to Saquon. When in doubt, toss it to Saquon. When in doubt, throw it to Saquon. That's all you got to do. The other thing that Kenny Pickett absolutely has to do, so we talked about play action. We talked about maybe trying to go for one run on a read option. The other thing is spreading the football around. One of the most glaring things about last week's loss against the Commanders was the fact that when you looked at the box score, and we were talking about this during the game, Seth and Gunnar and I, we were talking about how you're looking around the targeted receivers for the Philadelphia Eagles in that game. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Kenny Gainwell, Saquon Barkley. No tight end was targeted. And your running backs even were only targeted twice, once each. Kenny Gainwell and Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley, unfortunately, came up with that drop. But A.J. Brown was targeted 15 times. Devontae Smith was targeted 8 times. Kenny Gainwell once. Saquon Barkley once. Grant Calcaterra, nowhere to be found. And I also found it interesting going back and watching the film was how many times Grant Calcaterra was lined up next to Jordan Mailata. And not even lined up to go out for passes, but lined up to be in max protect, essentially. I don't remember that too many times with Jalen. So, okay. Let's see how we work this one out. By the way, I didn't even realize it, but yeah, Saquon Barkley had 29 carries, and should have had 30 touches, but he had a case of the dropsies. Unfortunately. There is one player that is putting some confidence in Kenny Pickett, and that is Darius Slay. Darius Slay had his locker yesterday. I don't know if a lot of people know this or not. This seems to shock people. I know most football fans know this, I think, but this seems to shock people. Do you know what the backup quarterback does during the week? A lot of people think he's just like standing there holding a clipboard and then goes in when, the starter's tired or something, during practice week. He's literally running the other team's offense. So you might get a couple of reps with the 2s and the 3s, probably the 3s, but it's not like you're just standing there waiting to go in, watching everything your offense is doing. You're literally running scout team offense to go against your team starting defense. So a lot of people don't realize that. So Darius Slay speaks to this about how he's gotten a better look and more of a look against Kenny Pickett than anybody, obviously, this season. And there's a reason the defense has been so good up until this game against the Commanders. There's been a reason why the defense has been so damn good all season. And it's because Kenny Pickett's been such a great quarterback, getting them ready every single week.
Great. He's been great, man. Definitely because he's the guy who's been preparing us to get ready to play every week. And you see why we one of the best defense in the league now because of Kenny, because of the work he put in, helping us get better, man, throwing amazing dots on us a couple of times. He was throwing a lot of dots. So, we thankful for Kenny, man. Like I said, next man up mentality. And he's looking forward. I'm looking forward to watching him perform this week.
There you go. He's getting you ready as often as possible and as best as possible. That's the way Darius Slay is looking at it. So good for him. Are you in the mindset that you would rather see Tanner McKee over Kenny Pickett? That's a question that's come up. I don't want to see either of them. I obviously you want to see Jalen Hurts go out there and do his thing. That's the best version of the Philadelphia Eagles, of course. However, I do find it very interesting that there are so many people that look at Tanner McKee and just go, "Oh, this guy, this guy, he's the guy that should be playing." It's based all on preseason. I'm at least willing to give it a shot with Kenny Pickett because I don't think the world is going to be lit on fire with Kenny Pickett as your starting quarterback for a game. And let's hope it's only one game if it's that. I really put these guys in the same boat, and I hate being on the fence about this, but I was thinking about this a lot yesterday. I'm just not scared of either of them playing. I'm not scared of either of them playing. Everything I know about Tanner McKee goes into preseason. That's it. That's all it is. You've seen Kenny Pickett in his career, as I've mentioned, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. For 2 seasons was a starter. He's played this will be his 30th career game coming up here against the Dallas Cowboys. He hasn't been great in his career. You're talking about a passer rating for his career around 80. It's not a high bar for Tanner McKee to try to come in and be better than. But for me, it comes down to a lot of the same confidence I had in the Eagles in 2017. And this has been my rule of thumb for backup quarterbacks ever since Nick Foles. When Nick Foles took over in 2017, there was a lot of thought of, oh, well, the Eagles have the MVP of the league in Carson Wentz. Not to bring up bad memories. The Eagles have the MVP of the league in Carson Wentz, and now they're going to Nick Foles. Nick Foles had that one shining year with the Eagles, 27-2, but ever since then, lost a job in St. Louis. Only played 2 games as a backup quarterback in Kansas City, but played well. My feeling following that dreaded game in Los Angeles, which ended up being the rallying point of the season, if you will. My feeling was all Nick Foles has to do is come in and be that point guard. Don't turn the ball over. Be a game manager. Let a great defense be great. Let good offensive weapons do their thing. They got a good run game. They got a great offensive line. All you got to do is not get in the way. You just got to make sure the ball is in the hands of guys that are going to make plays for you and not in the hands of the opposing team. Well, that's all Kenny Pickett has to do in this game. You are set up pretty damn good if you're a Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. With these weapons at your disposal, at the skilled positions, with this offensive line, with a defense that should be keeping a, albeit hot offense, somewhat tame, being that they're going to be without their best player in CeeDee Lamb. All you got to do is not get in the way of it all. Think simple. Don't think big. And probably one of the best reasons I can have confidence, the biggest reason I can have confidence is I would be terrified if I saw Kenny Pickett play scared last Sunday against the Commanders when he was just thrown into the fire. In what, week 16? If he was coming into the game playing scared, then I'd be terrified for this game against the Cowboys. But he didn't play scared. He didn't play particularly great by any means, but he didn't play scared. Let these guys do what they do. Defense, I think, is going to be great. Offensively speaking, just put the ball in the hands of the guys that can make the plays for you, and whether that's a handoff to Saquon Barkley or that's anything else. That's why I have confidence the Eagles are going to win this game. As far as the defensive side of things and the Dallas Cowboys in general, I mentioned already that this team goes out there and has played rather well over the last 5 weeks. They won 4 of the last 5. They beat the Commanders. They beat the Giants. They beat the Panthers. And their most impressive win, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All the while, they've scored 20 or more points in 5 straight games. They've scored 26 or more points in all 4 of their wins. Cooper Rush, ladies and gentlemen, Cooper Rush has back-to-back 100-rated games, has posted a passer rating in triple digits in back-to-back games. It's only the second time in his career that he's done that. It's the first time since 2021 that he has done that. So Cooper Rush has never played better football than he is playing right now for the Dallas Cowboys. However, last week, CeeDee Lamb, I believe it was 12 targets, 105 yards, 7 catches, 105 yards. Now he doesn't have that guy. Also, Cooper Rush over the last 5 games since the Dallas Cowboys have started playing some much better football, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. All right. Yeah, right. I mentioned Jerron Bland, 5 games this season. You have to come up with his first interception. You know he's going to be just dying for one from Kenny Pickett. I also mentioned Micah Parsons, 9.5 sacks on the season, 9 tackles for loss. That's actually a really good tackle for loss to game ratio. That's pretty damn good. That's up there with some of the best in the NFL. As far as what I'm concerned about when it comes to this Cowboys offense, Rico Dowdle has been on one heck of a stretch. 149 yards against the Panthers, 131 yards against the Bengals, 112 yards against the Giants, held to just 23 yards against Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. Rico Dowdle, as well as Jake Ferguson, their tight end, they're going to become the number 1 and number 2 threats in this offense. You also look at Brandon Cooks. Yes, that Brandon Cooks that Malcolm Jenkins put to sleep in the Super Bowl. He'll be playing in this game as well. Has had a bit of a lackluster season, as one would assume. But this is what you're going to be going up against. This is what Quentin Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, if he stays in the whole game and doesn't get thrown out again. This is what this defense is going up against. One of the best defenses in the NFL that unfortunately had a horrible hiccup last week against the Commanders. At home, they're going to be taking on this Dallas Cowboy offense that's not having CeeDee Lamb play. If you're asking me, with all the talk about Kenny Pickett, and look, it's the quarterback position, it's going to get talked about. The number one reason why I feel the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this game is because I don't see this Eagles defense all of a sudden allowing a disastrous performance or a great performance by an offense. I don't see that happening in back-to-back games. even without Jalen Hurts, I could still see this offense putting up 20 points, 25 points maybe. I don't see the defense allowing that. It's going to come down to the turnover battle. It's going to come down to protecting the football. Kenny Pickett does that. Eagles are going to be in good hands. He doesn't do that, and he gives more opportunities to Cooper Rush, then they're going to struggle. But all in all, the way I see this game playing out is the Philadelphia Eagles win this game. I see it 20-17. It's not going to be fun. We're going to be sweating it out. I think the time of possession is going to be a huge factor in this game. And I think it comes down to Saquon Barkley being the star of the show and him letting his cape out. As A.J. Brown has said time and time again throughout this season, let your cape out. Let me get this to you one more time here before I get into our chat check here. Did I get it in there? I did get it in there. Yeah. One more time, Saquon Barkley on Kenny Pickett.
I don't want to discredit anything from Jalen because Jalen he's a threat. You know what I mean? He that's what makes him special. The way he's able to throw the ball, but also the way he's able to run the ball. It's not many guys that's able to run the ball like him. So it definitely changes things. But Kenny got a little run into him. I remember in college he hit like a little fake slide. So we see flashes of it. He has a little bit, right? And if
yeah, let's hope it's even more than that. Real quick before I get into our chat check. Hey, speaking of teams that are playing well, Dallas Cowboys obviously have been playing well as of late. Let's flip it over to the world of basketball, where your Philadelphia 76ers have been playing some pretty damn good basketball as of late. And on Christmas Day, again, we didn't go anywhere. Leo was sick, so we stayed home. And I'm sitting there on the sofa and I'm watching the 10-9-8 76ers play in Boston. And I just had, excuse me, a great feeling about that game. I said, this is the Sixers, like this is their championship, essentially. This is going to be a really good game. I would have never predicted, even though Caleb Martin has played great against the Celtics in the past, I would have never predicted Caleb Martin goes off for 7 of 9 threes, 23 points in the game. But I knew Maxey would come up big. I knew Joel Embiid would come up big. The lights were on, blah, 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 blah. Paul George's shooting has scared the hell out of me as of late. But the 76ers beat the Boston Celtics on Christmas Day with the most watched day of NBA action ever. And there were still football games going on. A lot of sports on Christmas Day. Thanks, Netflix. But that was such a fun game to watch. Maxey came up huge, as I said. Closed out the game, 1:09. One of the big things, aside from just overall player performance, Nick Nurse, with the Sixers up 5 and the Celtics threatening, 1:09 left in the game. There's a side out of bounds play. Nick Nurse argues to get 0.2 of a second back on the clock. It was 0.09 left on the clock. Or, excuse me, 0.9 left on the clock. He's like, whoa, I got 0.2 of a second. That went out 0.2 of a second before the clock stopped. So the officials put 0.2 of a second back on the clock. Tyrese Maxey gets the ball, cuts right to the basket. Little bobble. And there's on the shot clock, excuse me. 0.2 of a second left. He argues for 0.2 of a second, put a back on the shot clock. So instead of getting the ball at 0.9, they get it at 1.1. Maxey gets the ball, little bobble, puts it in, releases the ball from his hand with 0.1 of a second remaining on the clock, on the shot clock. Ball goes in, Sixers go up 7. That was the biggest cushion they would have for the remaining, minute and 9 seconds in the game. There's a costly turnover. Maxey in the middle of the quarter had 2 bad turnovers at mid-court. Joel Embiid couldn't corral one rebound that ended up being a Jason Tatum dunk. Joel Embiid late in the game, D'd up Jason Tatum. I thought he had a block on him. They didn't rule it a block. Ball went out to Al Horford. He clanked the 3, one of the few threes he missed in the game, and Joel Embiid came up with the rebound. But Maxey came up with the clutch play. Caleb Martin was en fuego throughout the entire game. Again, 7 of 9 shooting from 3. 23 points, and Joel Embiid 27 points in the game after thinking that he might have blew his Achilles or whatever, thanks to a security rope before the game. So that was pretty bonkers. There's one more thing. Back to the world of football. I knew I was missing something. This whole story about Zach Ertz and Nick Sirianni. My take on the situation is I think Zach Ertz feels like he's not here anymore because he didn't vibe well with Nick Sirianni and Nick Sirianni didn't vibe well with him. That's just a jumping off point. That's my take on the situation. Like the way it ended for Zach Ertz in Philadelphia was kind of abrupt. And I don't think Nick Sirianni, look, sometimes two good dudes just don't mesh well. They don't present the best version of themselves to either. But I wish Zach Ertz was still here in Philadelphia. And I wish Zach Ertz should have been a career Eagle. And unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. I think the reason Zach Ertz isn't here is more Nick Sirianni than anything. And I know some people might hear that and think, oh, well, no, Howie Roseman has final say over all this. Yeah, but if a coach really wants a certain player to be here, they find a way to make it work. I don't think the Eagles are going to be paying Zach Ertz, unfortunately. Just like I don't think they're going to be paying Dallas Goedert after this year. But I look at that situation and the way it ended with, I think there's a little animosity between the two. Do I think that they're jerks to one another? No. But if you didn't see the story, Zach Ertz and Nick Sirianni had to be separated after the Commanders beat the Eagles. Dom DeSandro had to go in there and push the two away. There's footage now where Zach Ertz is going onto the field and he goes to shake Nick Sirianni's hand, and apparently Nick Sirianni thought it was a little too aggressive, said something to Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz said something back, and the two start jawing a little bit. There's the handshake that apparently was too aggressive, reportedly. And then Nick Sirianni starts talking to Dan Quinn, and then Nick Sirianni goes back and talks to Zach Ertz. That's the way the exchange went down afterwards, and apparently the two had to be separated. Zach Ertz was Joe Cool in the whole situation afterwards, saying, like, got a lot of respect for Nick. Apparently Nick had a Zoom call with Zach, and he apologized. For me, this goes back to when Zach's career was done in Philadelphia. And Nick Sirianni, I think, didn't really fight to keep him or even want to keep him. That's what I think it goes back to. That's my take on it. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game? Want to go to the concert? Want to go to the comedy show? Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Holiday season still going on. Maybe one of the gifts of Hanukkah, tickets to a Sixers game, tickets to a Flyers game, tickets to the Eagles game on Sunday. Game Time app has you covered. Concerts, comedy shows, and, of course, sporting events. Just use the Game Time app, download the account, download the app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Don't forget about Game Time Picks, which allows you to filter out all the fluff and get right down to it. The best seats at the best prices on the Game Time app. Toggle the Game Time Picks feature, and that allows you to see the very best of the best. Best seats for the best prices. Also, toggle the all-in pricing feature, which allows you to see exactly what you're paying before you check out. So there's no sticker shock. Oh, how do these $20 tickets become $30? No. Not when you toggle the all-in pricing feature on the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, you get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. How about the incredible people at Sky Motor Cars? Check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you beautiful people are doing on this fine football Friday. What's going on here? What do I got here? James Alexander III, good morning. It would be great to keep the running game going. I concur. Tate, what's going on? Michael, bruh. Cowgirls suck. Read all about it. I like that avatar. That's nice. Sean Gillespie, hello. Unfortunately, I see a loss but should still win the division when Hurts returns. I want to talk about how the Dallas Cowboys have only beaten crappy teams, but the Eagles struggled against the Panthers. The Cowboys beat the Panthers on the road. They beat the Giants. So did the Eagles. Eagles blew the Giants out. They beat the Commanders, who the Eagles just lost to. And they just beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they held on to win. They were up 2 touchdowns in that game at one point. But yeah, they won 26-24. So I want to say that, the Cowboys, who have they beaten? But they beat teams, and in a couple of situations handily, that the Eagles struggled against. The Eagles obviously struggled against Tampa Bay Buccaneers too. Jason A., hello. Why Niners wine? I just also think this. With Jalen Hurts being out, that puts everybody on notice. Everyone's got to raise their game. And I think that happens against a team that I still think is a poor Cowboys team. Jason A., good morning. Why Niners want to bet Jalen is being a good teammate to Pickett, unlike loser Wentz. I would agree with that. But here's the thing. I know Jalen Hurts, I think he was there for the golf cart distribution. What a fine holiday gift. But I don't even know if he was in the building yesterday. April! What's going on, April? How you doing? Good morning. Hope you had a wonderful holiday. Ken said 5 years in the league, Hurts doesn't know how to slide. See, Ken, this is what's so weird to me. He does know how to slide. And that was one of the things that really stuck out to me in the early days of Jalen Hurts is that, Wentz didn't slide. Hurts knows how to slide. Look at him sliding. Great. And he doesn't slide, and he gets hurt. And if I remember correctly, the play in Chicago 2 years ago where he hurt his shoulder, he also wasn't sliding. Like, slide, dude. You've done a great job for the most part of your career protecting yourself. Do that more. Always, actually. Forget about more. Always. Just do it. And he had time to slide. He already broke off a big gain. And Ari Stein, our listener listener and friend of the show, out in St. Louis, he went on a great rant. I'm sorry, Ari. I meant to. I don't think I acknowledged. I read it and then I got pulled away. Just like if it's Patrick Mahomes, the league is it's just pissed off as all hell, and you can't get enough flags on the field if that happens. But the thing that also bothers me is that Jalen Hurts had already run. He had already run. Now I'm looking at Twitter. He had already run for a nice gain. Just go for the slide. Quit while you're ahead, so to speak. My man Joe ruined today. Pickett versus Rush is like Creed versus Nickelback. Receiver is open. All right, sorry. Thank you, Ken. Rodney Burton, what's up, brother? Is Jalen out? Yeah, pretty much. Nothing official yet, but he's out. Hope everyone had a great family time this week. Thank you, April. Same to you. I think the Birds can win, especially with Lamb out, right? Great game plan last week, except they had 5 turnovers, 5 to 10 chances on offense during a game. Now the opposition has 10 to 15 on offense, along with the defense. That's a game. You got a lot going on there. Pickett sucks. They will put 8 in the box. Barkley will be lucky to get 100 yards. Yeah, it'll be a lot. That's another thing. Spread the offense, too. Don't let him put 8 in the box. Sean Gillespie, hello. Cowboys always play better. No pressure on them. That's true. Ken, you are all over the place today, my friend. Hurts can't read the defense, can't slide. We disagree on Jalen Hurts. I love it. You tripping. Oh, that's great. Fuji, what's up, Fuji? Good morning, Mark. Good morning, peeps. Belated Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to y'all. Kenny Pickett fences we trust. Sean Gillespie, not scared of having our backup quarterbacks playing at the end of the season. Playoffs are different despite our great Eagles history with Foles. I agree. What's going on, Bod? Why do people insist on throwing the third stringer in just to see what he could do? I'm with you. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Ooh, Lamont. Good morning, Farzy. Or Mr. Farzy. Mr. Farzy to you. This Cowboy team will win this game. That's not fun. Don't like it. Mesmerize. Great name. Morning, Farzy. Are you sold on the Vikings? I'm not. I'm not either. Who do you worry about as a 2 seed, Green Bay or Detroit? I worry about Green Bay. You have to go with the Lions. I can see why. Can we? Yes, coming right up. Right on cue, as a matter of fact. Folks, again, I see the Eagles winning this one 20-17. 20-17, Eagles win this one. Defense plays better. Ugh. Vic Fangio cooks up the spicy meatball. Great to see you guys again. Great to talk to you guys again. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to the Farzy Show YouTube channel. More of me coming up on Fox 29. See you guys tomorrow night, actually. Sixers. I'll be on after Sixers Jazz on Locked On Sports Philadelphia for your Locked On Sixers postcast. See you guys then. Have a great weekend. Go Birds.